what happens with the dog that just flattened down to go into protest and to escape control that way. Well, now the dog's not doing it. Then I ask the questions. Well, do you think the dog doesn't understand based on how you're pushing, how the direction you're pushing? No, the dog understands fully. It's about who's in control. Okay, I understand that there's certain things that will reveal, and you have to start to think about it and say, okay. And then so you'll start to dial into certain realities of what's happening, those interplays. Okay, those are important because you have to break this down to know, okay, why you don't want to use commands until a certain point. Okay, why you need to interact the way that, again, I show to come out on the other side with a predictable outcome. And this gets into this issue about why I'm so specific about even certain tools. We'll talk about that, how they're used, and even in terms of the role of influence to intercept, be dialed in this way, because understand that when you're dealing with a dog owner where they're dealing with a situation with the dog and you need them to generate what needs to be generated, even though they're adopting certain the method, then to get that tachometer over, to get that over enough, okay, everything matters. Everything adds up. It's like 5% here, 5%. So you start to do certain things that, say, for example, you're not dialed into the thinking the way I described. Say you're using certain tools. I'll talk about this for a moment. So you use a tool like a prong collar, okay? Now you look at this tool here and people look at a tool and they immediately get upset just based on how the tool looks. Okay, that's the wrong way to view things, okay? Okay, it should be about, okay, when I look at a tool, it's like, can I express, okay, can I intercept the dog's state of mind in a specific way? Can I express control? You see me how I'm nudging? Is this tool designed to do that? And it's not, okay? So, but the problem here is that, so this tool itself, right, based on its design and based on how it's touching the dog and how it's bringing, control over, but how its design itself makes for a better physical. So for example, the dog's gonna respond to the tool itself, and then you might have a better heel position. The dog may be coming into a better physical position for the walk. So the walk itself might look great based on this tool, but because I cannot intercept but based on this tool the way I want to in terms of that dog's thinking, I want to engage. I need to clean up that stinking thinking. Because I can't do that, I have a better walk with this tool, but not a better relationship. Okay, I never get this tool off during the walk. I can take the tool off, the dog is still very much experiencing a relationship problem. So this is about tool awareness. Okay, this is about certain tools don't align properly through what our goals are in terms of how it's used. Okay, so when I talk about we talk about here the dreaded choke chain that everyone wants to go on so badly about. Okay, because understand that the proactive nature of influence and control is such that tools take on different meaning. Okay, so it's not about cranking and yanking on dogs. Okay, that comes through, say, balanced training. Balanced dog trainers are in a reactive posture because understand something here. They're not dialed in the same way. They're not dealing with, I talk about stinking thinking and engaging the dog's, these expressed states within the parameters of a relationship problem. Balanced dog trainers are not doing that. Okay, so therefore they're waiting for the dog to what's called loading. Even they'll talk about loading to a certain degree of fixation, but typically balanced dog training represents not being dialed in that way. So. And I have lots of great examples on my YouTube channel by way of my Flipping the Script series. I encourage you to watch those to see what I'm talking about because you'll see it. And so balanced dog trainers say wait until the dog's already fixating a certain level and expressing control, and then they're like, oh, okay, and then they're correcting the dog. But here's the problem: when you do that, number one is it can create more conflict. Okay, because it's like I talk about the example of the parent who waits for the selfish child to already get in the toy aisle, okay, before, and the child's pulling the toys down on the heads of the other kids before they decide, now I'm going to jump in. And think about that. It's going to create what? More conflict with the child. You're just like, you're waiting until the obvious happens. You're not dialed into a certain reality that you're actually dealing with a relationship problem. And so what this system of training represents is being dialed in. So therefore it's the parent who's dialed in, they're getting the right information, okay, the current state of relationship and their role. So it brings a different focus onto what their role needs to be. And so parental influence, think about all the things I talk about here. So they're interacting with the child differently. They're engaged. They're in the child's airspace differently, like where are you going, who are you hanging out with. But the toy example would be, to this system, be like having a conversation before you leave the house, okay? And I may not go in the toy aisle at all until a certain period of time, right? So, but change is going to happen, and that's going to happen. Okay, but the right way, and then more freedom comes, right? So understand this whole issue about, get back to free choice and freedom. In fact, I just put out a video that really highlights it. It actually worked out today. I was doing some service dog training with Al and his dog, Brody. And there's a moment, you really pay attention that, you know, I'm actually asking a question about, because he's bringing Brody out and he has a choke chain. He has a baseline going. I'm asking now, okay, what, you describe the baseline, how much control do you feel like you have over that dog right there? And because understand something, when you look at a baseline, without a baseline control, looks can be deceiving. Okay, then when the dog's under stress, you're going to get at times certain reactions from the dog, especially these dogs that are at a certain level. That's not happening with Brody in this video. You'll see, so he's walking forward, and you know, Al is saying, well, yeah, not a lot. Like, you know, it's not a lot. But then Al asked, well, what if I, you know, put slack down right now, and we're getting close to the wheelchair where Brody's been reactive to the wheelchair. And Al asked, well, can I have him sniff the wheelchair first? So think about what I'm saying about choices, right? Free will, right? And I'm like, sure, Al, go ahead and like take some slack off. And we're getting near the wheelchair. Pay attention to what happens. Brody pulls right back, starts to get reactive. Okay? And I talked through that. I said, no, you need to bring that baseline back. You know, assert control, you know, it's a demand. Okay? And Brody comes in, and you'll see how great that all plays out. Okay? Al is like happy. He's walking. I'm not doing a thing. I'm stepped back in that hole. So if you watch the first video of Brody, okay, and I'm in the mix a little at a higher level. This video here, I'm barely touching Brody. Okay, and everything's going great, because that's the point of all of it. Okay, it all coming out on the other side. You know, what does, you know, the issue about the intent, okay, control itself. You know, it's actually what it does, it takes the stress off the dog. And so I talk about this issue with a baseline, which we'll talk more about, because people look at that and they go crazy because they see I have a certain level of intentional control happening, okay, on a dog. And I call it, you know, I talk to it as a type of, you know, kind of like a baseline in regards to, you know, like parental influence, you know, control. So what that does is that baseline itself, what control does at that level, this is getting this whole issue of intent. We'll talk about this issue with thinking. Okay, it forces the cards down on the table. Okay, so the baseline itself is not meant to or designed to create conflict where the dog doesn't understand what's happening through intent. Okay, intent means that when I have that level of control on the dog, you'll see I'm working off of that baseline. So the control itself, what it does is, okay, it shifts the dog's focus onto me at a certain level. Okay, it maintains a level of focus, because even when we get into this issue of a power play, and you'll see it. So for example, if another dog is making an appearance, my dog and the dog I'm with is very, very reactive. Okay, if I don't have that baseline, the dog is immediately going to start to fixate and shift in that direction really fast. And then that's when you get into the cranking and yanking, or I'll get thrown down onto the ground and hurt, okay, with some of these powerful dogs. But here's the thing, that baseline, okay, when you start to bring a level of control, and it's not meant to choke the dog or hurt the dog, what it does is it shifts the dog's focus onto me, it maintains that level of focus. It's a constant at a certain level. Okay, so right away, by doing that, okay, it allows me to read the dog at the same time. Okay, so there, as I have a little bit of leash pressure going on, that dog, I don't have to be looking down, that dog's head starts to shift a little bit. I feel that, or I'm not caught off guard. And then I'm working off of that baseline of control, okay, and here's the interesting thing. If you put everything I say to the test, If you're out somewhere in an open area and your dog's very reactive, okay, and say you just got slack on the leash and you're walking down towards the other dog, the potential of getting blindsided or thrown down on the ground is high, okay, or something bad happening, regardless. But you put everything I say to the test, and you start to, okay, as you're walking your dog, you have that baseline there, okay, and you start to, the dog could be still quite a ways off, but your dog already sees the other dog. As soon as the dog starts to see the other dog, guess what? The dog's going to start to fixate somewhat. But now that baseline's there, I'll turn your dog and just increase that baseline a little bit. What that does is it's gonna expose the cards right away. Okay, it's because by doing that, you're shifting the focus. Okay, intentional control that way. It affects the dog's state of mind. It's gonna direct the focus onto you. It's like a type of conversation, a personal conversation you're having with the dog. I talk about language. That's what's going on. Basically, what you're communicating, hey, I own that other dog. Okay, because you already have a relationship problem, and the dog is already engaging in thinking. So you have to put context here too. This isn't you're not dealing with a dog that's okay. Okay, you're dealing with a dog that has issues. Okay, and control is manifesting and being expressed through the dog's state of mind. But again, when you turn, you bring that baseline on the dog. That's going to right away shift the focus, but then that's going to draw into this type of power play where the dog isn't going to like it, because you're intercepting, you're interfering with that dog's ability to be able to connect that way. It's an unhealthy level of thinking, because with a balanced dog or a good